Now, Shadrack Sibiya has been reinstated in the South African Police Service following his dismissal in 2015. The Labour Appeal Court ruled that his dismissal was unfair. Now, Newzroom Afrika had a sit-down with him on his last day at the City of Johannesburg as Group Head of Forensic and Investigation Services.
Last month, the Labour Appeal Court ruled that the SAPS should reinstate General Shadrack Sibiya. He was sacked in 2015 following a disciplinary hearing into his alleged role in the illegal deportation of 5 Zimbabwean nationals in 2010. In 2020, the court found his dismissal was procedurally and substantively unfair.
We have established a number of units within group forensics, some of them dealing with the hijacked properties, theft of city assets and vandalism, fraud and corruption, hijacked properties. We're dealing with a whole lot of other things. We started with up to 14 warm bodies that were here, and only 2 or 3 of them were investigators, but others were auditors. But to date, I can safely tell you that we've got more than 86 people that are employed in this department, and many in 7 investigative units that are operating within this department.
Sibiya submitted his resignation to the City of Johannesburg following a list of allegations that were brought against him by Al Jamaa. The party lodged a formal complaint with the council to review Sibiya's appointment last year. An investigation concluded that his appointment was irregular and unlawful, but the Labour Appeal Court ruled last week that the allegations were in fact not true. At the City of Joburg, Sibiya was initially appointed as head of the Internal Anti-Corruption Unit in 2016 before being promoted to Group Head of Forensic and Investigation Services.
But the public protector did come out and say, I see nothing wrong in this appointment. And I remember, how would I be the head of the Hawks, provincial head of the Hawks, within the South African Police Service, which is the mother body of all investigations? And you want to tell me that I don't qualify or I cannot head a department, a small department within the city, a municipality? Doesn't make sense. So I have all the qualifications. I've got over 35 years experience in this job. But you can just see that someone, they don't know what they're talking about. They don't even know what a grabber is. If you can ask them what a grabber is, they don't know. Because if you know what a grabber is, you won't actually go out there and tell the public that someone has got a grabber, because you would be knowing what you're talking about. A grabber is not something that you can easily acquire. You will never even get, not even the state security will give you permission to go and acquire a grabber. Even themselves, they still need permission from the Minister of Justice in consultation with other authorities. But the bottom line is, why would I come up with a grabber from the Hawks? And what happened to the grabber of the Hawks if they had? And I just bring the grabber here, and then doesn't make sense. Those are just allegations of poor, cheap politicking. Absolutely not true. Read my letter of resignations. How can I say no? The council know about the grabber, and then they were aware of it. There's no grabber. There's no spying equipment. The nation must know these are just young and upcoming politicians who want to make a good name for themselves. They are still trying to find their way, and they still have to bend their fingers at some point. But they must start somewhere, maybe with people at their age level. This is not things that you use to play around with. You go and make such wild allegations against people, and or about things that do not even exist. These things that they're talking about are not there. They are non-existent. And I don't know how can someone be so bold and so brave to go out on a national TV and say someone has got a spying equipment. They've got this device. When you walk past a person, it strips you naked. I don't know how do you go out there and tell such lies that you know that it can be confirmed and you will be exposed. If there's anybody who's got that evidence of that particular device or equipment, They must bring it there to you and say, here is something that we're talking about.
He has now officially left the city and is returning to the SAPS in the National Office as head of component for organized crime investigations.
I've got a legacy that I can be proud of. The City of Joburg has got a working group forensic investigation department that is reliable, that can be relied upon, a group forensics that everybody respects. It is loved by all. It is respected by peers. It is feared by the criminals. And I can tell you for sure that everybody, the public knows about group forensics. It is already carrying the city. They do know that we exist. Every people employed in strategic positions, we take them through the process of vetting, is to ensure that the city employ capable people with integrity. That is what we do. Where to from here? I'm going back home. I grew up as a crime fighter from as early as 20 years old, and today I'm 55 years old. I've been fighting crime, and that's where I'm going, back to the South African Police Services. I've been placed as a component head for organized crime at the national level.
Sibiya served as the head of crime-busting unit Hawks in 2014 when soccer star Senzo Meyiwa was killed in his girlfriend's Vosloorus home. Newzroom Afrika asked what he made of the docket that mentioned him as having visited the murder scene in the evening of 26 October 2014.
First and foremost, it is important to know that I am not really at liberty to speak about that case because it is in court. Otherwise, I might be accused. But also, it's safe to say that, remember that Senzo was a national asset. And when something like that happens, also the leadership or the senior management of the police also needs to respond. And I'm one of the people who were called to the scene as well to be there as a senior member of the Hawks. In fact, we would have loved to do that investigation from the onset, but the instruction came that no, it must be investigated by a team of chosen or selected task team members from the detectives. And as the Hawks, we had to back off. So I cannot say much about that investigation because I was not involved in that investigation. But I can also say to you that I played no role in that investigation. And there's no way senior management of the police would just go gather somewhere and then begin to discuss on how to evade justice here or how to do away with this case or to protect a particular individual. We all love Senzo. So there's no way that one will be so stupid and go and do silly things. We had to be there. We had to be there. If let's say it happened and only the constables and sergeants came there in the early hours and then they left, someone was still going to come and say, yeah, but I mean the police don't show any respect to our national hero. They were not there. They sent junior people there. We all showed interest and concern and we all jumped. We had to be there. And once we were there, the whole thing is to try to determine what happened and how best can we support the investigative capacities. Nothing more. Nobody will just go out of their way, especially at the scene of crime. You sit down and you start discussing on how to protect whoever. Why, what for? Irrespective of who it was. Why would you go there with the intention to go and discuss? And let's say something was to be discussed there. Why would all these senior people, including politicians, go sit down and gather at that particular house and say, now this is what we're going to do? Why, what for? Doesn't make sense.
Sibiya began his duties at the South African Police Service on Friday after serving his notice at the city.